Good morning. Hi, Esther.
Hi, Shauna. Good morning.
Good morning and hello, everyone. I'm Shauna Cole, if we haven't met, and welcome to Q4 Career Success Live. The whole point of this series is to help job seekers end 2023 on a career high note. And 2023 is coming to an end quickly, isn't it? I'm joined this morning by Esther Hefsba. She's a life and leadership coach, and we are going to learn more about her career journey and get some inspiration. To end the year really positively. So welcome and thanks for being here this morning.
It's my pleasure. Happy to be here.
Yeah, and where are you located this morning?
Located in Moncton, New Brunswick, on the east coast of Canada.
On the east coast of Canada. And what about folks online? Can you drop in the comments, where are you located? I'm going to go in the comments here and I'm going to say I'm not far from Esther. I'm in St. John, MB. I'm putting that in the comments. Where are you located? If you want to put that in the comments as well, so we see where you are. And we had like our first big snowstorm here on the east coast of Canada. Did you get a pretty big storm yesterday in Moncton? Yeah.
I had to shovel some snow this morning.
Yes, I know. And I forgot, I almost, like every year, I kind of block out the extra time required to get the kids ready in the morning. So anyway, got to get back to that because the layers, right? The jacket, the ski pants, the socks, the big socks, the boots and all that. So
it's a different season for sure.
Yes, absolutely. So Esther, you've had a pretty inspiring career. Do you want to tell us a bit about your professional journey and how you landed in entrepreneurship?
Well, thank you again, Shauna, for inviting me. It's such a pleasure to share and to learn from your audience today, and I'm super excited to be part of this experience. So, when I look at my background, I'm gonna start from where I'm culturally from. So, I'm culturally from Nigeria and West Africa, and I started my career. First of all, my first degree was in physics, and everyone always asks, how did you get from physics to where you're at right now? Like, looks like two different worlds apart. So my background was physics because I really wanted to be a medical doctor initially. I'm very curious. I love asking questions. So my dad said, why don't you just study physics? And I studied physics, finished, and I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do next because I figured out medicine wasn't going to go with physics. And so I decided to go with what I love to do, which is connecting with people. And I started this with a Fortune 500 company in Nigeria. I did a lot of logistics management, relating with people, and that took me away from physics. But then I think I began to discover what my superpowers were, which is my strength and what I really love to do. So my background really is in logistics and project management. And then in 2015, I moved halfway across the world, left the known for the unknown to Canada to do an MBA. The reason for that was because I really wanted to tap into more of my untapped potential. Fast forward, finished the MBA, I figured out I got more lost. Couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. I felt like, okay, I have an MBA, invested this huge amount in studying, but I don't know what I want to do. So that began, my journey of self-discovery and self-awareness, really understanding in Canada, who is Esther? What do I want to be known for? What do I want to become? How do I want to add lasting value to the world? And that was how I started self-discovery. Went into the corporate world for a little bit more, and then in 2020 during COVID, I figured out I think I want to start my own business. I want to help more people, especially newcomers and immigrants. So that was how I started my entrepreneurial journey.
That's amazing. So the transition from Nigeria to Canada, like I teach in obviously the MBA program. I've talked about that before, and meet so many people from all over the world. And I know, like, I've lived in Canada my whole life, so sometimes I just can't even fathom and like wrap my head around how you go from like what is so familiar in your home to a new country. The journey, I can't imagine how challenging it is. What advice do you have for others that see themselves reflected in your story, right?
So when I look at my journey and what I've learned so far, I feel like it's a growth journey and there's been ups, there's been downs. And like I said, when I finished the MBA degree, first of all, I was struggling to find myself. There was culture shock. There was the unfamiliar, like I had no family here. I had two kids to raise. So what I've learned over the past 8 years is captured in a framework that I've created, and it's called the WIN framework. Okay, so the WIN framework, I believe, is really applicable to career clarity and success. And so, what I'm going to be sharing with you is really what has helped me and continues to help me, not just for myself, but to pour value into others. And it's called the WIN. So, W stands for what do you really want in life? What's your vision for life? What do you want to be known for? Those are questions that I wish I got to ask myself in 2015 and 2016 because I was lost for about 3 years. I could not figure out what I wanted to do. I felt like I lost a sense of my identity in Canada.
Mm,
I think there was other layers of, not just internal barriers that I had to deal with in terms of self-doubt, but it was also external barriers in terms of the system, right? There was systemic barriers. I was a Black woman in a different country. My name wasn't aligned. There were so many things that I couldn't figure out I felt like it was a maze and I was lost in that. So the WIN framework was me starting to get on this journey of self-awareness. What does Esther really want? What does a fulfilling life look like? What does success look like? So I had to define success through the lens of what I really wanted. So that's the
mhm,
W, right? And then the I was where I decided to identify my superpowers. Now, superpowers in this context is an awareness and understanding of Esther and others. And that's what we talk about self awareness and social awareness. So, really understanding my communication style. What are my strengths? What is my experience I'm bringing from my home country? How do I articulate and translate that to value in Canada? So I had to do all of that inner work because I always say if you don't win the inner game, there is no way you can win the outer game. So that
mm.
was my journey and my story of getting to where I'm at today.
So, is there one more? So is WI? Is there another letter?
And so N is networking, and that's social awareness. Now you need to connect with people to get into what you want to do. You need to connect with people. You have to communicate in a way that connect with different cultures, different personalities, and all of the other diversity components.
Yeah. So it's so true. I love your framework. It's really nice. A nice. I mean, it's not simple like to go through this process, but this is a simple way to frame up the process, right? Because I think the
Correct.
inner work is never going to be easy, right?
Mm-mm.
And but it's so important because framing up and understanding what we want to do and what those superpowers are really key inputs to finding a career that's going to make us happy. So that's awesome. Thank you. And I'll put a link in the comments here. I know you've got some extra resources for anyone who's watching today, particularly around the networking piece, and I'll put the link in the comments here. So can you find pardon me, can you share with us Shine Transformation Solutions is your business. Can you tell us a little bit more about that business and how you work with folks to help them uncover that clarity?
So shine transformation came, the name shine is again, that's light, right? I believe that we all have this light inside of us, and sometimes it just needs to be turned on, depending on life circumstances, life would happen. And you might think the light is not there, but you just sometimes need an external person or you need an external force to activate or to be that catalyst for the transformation that happens from the inside out. So that's kind of the foundation of my business. But when I look at what the value or the solution that it brings to, again, newcomers and immigrants, which is kind of my target audience, I think it again started with me, Esther, understanding that life is all about learning and growing. And I had to, first of all, discover myself. I had to be able to lead myself before I can lead others. So when I look at Shine Transformation, our focus is on life and leadership, leading yourself first. developing the leader within you. So I'm certified with John Maxwell, which is one of the number one leadership authority in the world. But John says you have to develop the leader within you to be able to lead those around you. And so shine transformation, when I look at how I help women, particularly women immigrants, because again, a lot of women, I had a call yesterday, and one of the ladies said, when I watched your story on CBC, I could find myself in that. I feel lost. I've been here for 6 months. I don't even know who I am. And I had a very rich experience back home. So the way I help women is to first of all get to, again, who are you? Answering that question. What are your strengths professionally and personally? What are you exceptionally good at? Where do you shine? What are your core values? What was your experience like in the past in your home country, wherever you're coming from? Because there's so much gold and diamonds in that. So I can't look at it as mining for them, mining the diamonds that are within the what's your personality style. So I do a personality assessment for them. How do you naturally approach tasks and interact with others? Right? What are your natural tendencies? What's your communication style? Are you more analytical? Are you creative? Or are you someone like Esther who likes to talk all the time? I'm more of a speaker. Right? Because one of the things that I struggled with was and led to burnout in the corporate world in Canada was being out of alignment. So I was put in a role that was not aligned with my natural tendency. I'm more of a speaker. I'm very spontaneous. I'm very adventurous, right? And I was put in a role that was very analytical and strategic. Now I have a flavor of that in me, but that's not my superpower. And so I struggled because I was dealing with numbers. Hey, if you put me in front of audience any day, I'm ready to talk, right? So really understanding yourself so that you put yourself in a role that really strengthens who you are and minimizes your blind spot. That's how I get to help newcomers and immigrants.
That, I find that I've okay, when you say women in particular and the journey that women go through, I'm just thinking about, like, I feel like over the years I've gotten like little snapshots of some of the challenges that women immigrants experience. But I'm really thinking about this right now because I know myself as someone who hasn't gone through the transition of a new country, but who has gone through the transition of motherhood and what that does to your identity. And that was very difficult for me. Like it was a big it was a big transition in terms of my career, but to layer on the experience of going to a new country on top of that, like in terms of a women's identity, do you find like most immigrant women will struggle with this? Is this really common, like based on your experience?
So I would say that it's more amplified to your point. It looks different. So motherhood here, like what does parenting look like? I'm raising two teenagers. At the time, they were quite younger. They were 5 and I think 7 then. But parenting was different culture. And so, yes, as a woman, you have to navigate that path. You're trying to raise two kids, you're trying to study, you're trying to find yourself as a woman. It is a crazy ride.
Yes, it sounds like a crazy ride because I'm like, man, I think anyone who has gone through the transition of motherhood at all relates to the crazy ride of that, and then adding in the intersection of being an immigrant as well. Like that's not hard for me to think of how challenging that would be. So along those lines, like you focus a lot as well on like fostering inclusivity in workplaces and career development. Can you talk a little bit about how organizations and individuals can be more supportive of these types of transitions and challenges that folks of different backgrounds might be going through?
Well, I'm going to tie this back to one of Stephen Covey's 7 habits of highly effective people. Seek first to understand and then be understood. It's extremely important that because you're dealing with people that are coming from a different background, different lived experiences, you need to first understand where they're coming from. Otherwise, if you look through the lens of you being in Canada all your whole life, you feel like this is all you know, you're going to miss the value of the diversity that you're bringing into the workplace. So really seeking to, and that's part of what I do, is to bridge that gap, to partner with employers as to how do you create an environment of inclusive leadership and communication.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my focus: inclusive leadership and communication. And that means valuing the human being that is entering into your workforce, not just for what they look like or what they feel like, but just the fact that we're all human beings first, right? Every human being wants to feel valued, they want to feel seen, they want to feel heard. And so really understanding that, I think that's a way to foster inclusive culture, is seeking to understand first. And there's so many tools out there to help with, personality diversity, generational diversity, cultural diversity, and the other components. So I think it's really leaders getting to do the work of understanding, which you can start with self-awareness. So as a leader, you have to be self-aware, right? And that goes through emotional intelligence, really understanding yourself as a person and the other different personalities out there, right? Because when I facilitate conversations, I find that one of the icebreakers to break down, we have different culture, different races, gender, and all of that. The fact is, we're human beings first. So when I do a personality diversity workshop, you find the commonalities first, and then you can talk about the differences. You find people say, "Oh, I'm also an introvert. I'm very reserved." Wow, you can leverage that first, and then you talk about what is different about you in terms of culture.
Mm-hmm. What types of businesses do you like? You work with? Sorry, so you said you work with businesses. So what types of businesses or organizations would you work with to do these types of exercises with?
So my heavy focus right now, or for the past couple of years, has been on immigrant serving organizations,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because those are people, again, that help immigrants to settle into the culture. And so I find that partnering with them or being a trusted advisor to them has helped me share my own story. And I come in to complement the value through the programs that they offer, right? So one of the companies that I work with right now, they do a lot of programs for newcomers and immigrant women and students. I'm able to come in to share my story, and I get people say, "Oh, me too. Oh, you've gone through that." It makes them feel they're not alone.
Yeah,
Right.
and I always feel like it's such a big part of the conversation, especially when it comes to diversity and inclusion, is
Mhm.
the idea of sharing the stories, because storytelling is so powerful. Because it's one thing, frameworks are helpful too. Frameworks are amazing, but it's another thing to connect on an emotional level and be like, I can relate to how you felt, pulled between having two kids and trying to pursue a career. Like, you feel that, right? Because you've
Mhm.
experienced those emotions. And it's so powerful. And I always think that's, a really big first step when it comes to this idea of seeking to understand someone else. It's like, what are those stories, and where can we connect, right?
Correct.
So you had a big year, and you won some award. You won at least one award, transformational business award, and I know you were nominated for some other stuff. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the cool things that happened in 2023 in terms of recognition for you?
Well, I must first of all say that this recognition was a result of pain and tears and doubting my,
Mhm.
like, when people see all of this, it's those ups and downs and years of investing and sowing seeds, and it's very humbling
Mhm.
to see that, okay, there's some light at the end of the tunnel. But when I look at this, when I asked, the Canadian women entrepreneurs who nominated me for this award, I said, why? Like, I can't even fathom why. I mean, not like I don't recognize the value I bring, but why did you select? And it was the stories, to your point, Shauna. We read the stories of the women that have been transformed by you showing up as you, by you sharing your journey, with transparency and saying, this is where I was before, and holding up the mirror for them to see the possibility that awaits them as well. So I would say that when I look at the award, it just reminds me of the power of sharing our stories, of sharing where we were before, because sometimes when we get to a certain point, it's hard for people to connect the dots. How did you get there, right?
Mm.
So I think sharing my journey and really helping them to see that I've not always been this way and I'm still learning and growing, but this is what is possible for you. And really helping them to see that they can actually go beyond the barriers that they're facing right now, that I've faced it. And I know it's not easy, acknowledging the pain, but also helping them to see the gain that waits them.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think it's so important what you say around like, well, and congratulations, by the
Thank
way, on an amazing year. But I think probably even a bigger deal is the difference that you've made in the lives of immigrant women, right? So I think it's so important what you share around like years, the hours, the kind of the pain that goes into it. Because I think sometimes we forget about that part of the journey because we only see people at the end of it, right? But there were several years that led up to that point, several challenges that led up to that point, and I just think it's so important that we remember and acknowledge that. Because don't you find some leaders will only talk about the fact that I got these awards, I did these amazing things, but they ignore kind of the pain that led up to it, and it sets people with this really unrealistic expectation of success, right? So
I agree because again, when you look at success is like an iceberg, right? Sometimes we see only
mm,
the surface, but beneath that are layers of pain, of doubting yourself, of failures, right? Now, failures is not something that people like to talk about, but the truth
mhm,
is, it was only failures that got me to where I'm at today, and I'm
mhm,
still falling down, right? I still fall down
mhm,
sometimes. I still get back into you know how did I, like, why did I even get on this journey? But again, you have to be anchored to your why, right? And that's why
mhm,
the W for the win is, what do you really want? What is your why? What do you want to be known for? So when I share my story, I share about my failures and my missteps, and I laugh at them sometimes. I struggle with my accent. When I got here in 2015, I wasn't proud of my accent. I felt it was a stumbling block for me, right? And I will laugh over that, but that was part of what built, that's kind of how I got to where I'm at today, was continue to strengthen who I'm at, and continue to understand that my identity is not tied to, things that are um whatever I've gone through in life is not really my future, but it's just a stepping stone. So when I look at
mhm,
pain, for example, I always tell my audience that you could look at pain as a trap, or you could look at pain as a trampoline that bounces you to the next
mhm,
level. So failure
mhm,
for me is my friend. If I don't fail, there's no way I can learn, right?
mhm.
So failure
Yeah.
for me is a friend, because when I pursue failure, then I can learn and I can grow and I can share my story with others.
Do you agree? Watching online, is failure your friend? I would tend to. I gotta agree. Do you agree? Is failure your friend? Drop that in the comments if you agree. Just say failure is my friend. I have to remind myself of that all the time because the same. And I know people will kind of now people will just make assumptions because I've built like a network here or whatever, right? But at the end of the day, it's taken me like over 5 years to do it. Just like you, same experience. I couldn't even tell you how many tears I've cried in terms of frustration and setbacks and whatever. But I think it's important that we acknowledge that and don't ignore that, because people will look and go like, oh, look at Esther. She's doing great. She's got this award and good for her. And I'm never going to achieve that. And it's like, but you can if you go through the failure, right? And the lessons learned and the really challenging journey, but rewarding journey that goes along with that too. I think our purposes are really connected, Esther, in a lot of ways. I know we go back to several years ago. We met in the MBA program, and since then, I think we've connected a number of times over the years. And now a lot of the work that I do around diversity and inclusion is connected to your work as well, right? Because we both really believe in having conversations in those spaces and acknowledging differences and so on. So my job board, HireDiverse.ca, is really the mission of this job board, which, by the way, has been an uphill battle, right? The mission of this is to provide a platform for employers who value diversity to connect with traditionally underrepresented, marginalized job seekers. So if anyone is interested in that, you can check out HireDiverse.ca. And again, the intention is really to provide a place, a forum for underrepresented job seekers to upload their resumes and browse postings from employers that truly value diversity and inclusion. I just have a couple of comments here, Esther, if you want to check these out. Look, I'm going to post it on the screen for us.
Oh.
Thank you. Thanks for the session. You're welcome. There's only one more left next week. And thank you to Esther for sharing your story. It's really relatable. My question regarding the barriers, what advice would you give a woman who is going through career diversification and transition? You want to take that one, Esther? You have any words of wisdom?
Absolutely. So before I share an answer to that, Tejumadi, great question. I just want to say thank you to Shauna. I don't know if she recognizes it, but one of the first people that helped me see reasons in who I am and believe more in myself was Shauna in 2016. Yeah, I don't know if you remember, but I had a mentor then that referred me to you. And I struggled with putting my resume together because, again, in my home country, what a resume looks like there is different from what it looks like in Canada. But I remember they gave me some very strategic pointers that landed me interviews. And I'm like, oh, so you accelerated my track of success, but you also gave me reasons to believe in myself. So I just want to say thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you, Esther.
So when you talk about career diversification and transition as a woman, one of the things that I've found helpful in my own story and I've found helpful in other women that I've supported is, again, the WIN framework. And when you look at career diversification and transition, it's really important to articulate and communicate the value that you have in your previous career experience. Because what most women struggle with that gap is, I have this experience, which I'm so proud of, but now I'm transitioning into something else, or I want to diversify, and I can't really connect the dots. And one thing I would say is getting a strong support system, a coach. I've had several coaches in my life. Like, having coaches is extremely important. So having a career coach, I know that's Shauna's area of expertise. Having a career coach to help you clarify and articulate and translate your values, non-negotiable. I repeat, non-negotiable. That has been one of my secrets of success. I have over 7 coaches right now in different areas of my life. So as a woman, you definitely need a coach. You also need a mentor as well. John Maxwell would say, stop asking for directions from people who have not been where you want to be. So the industry you want to be in, or you want to diversify into, who can you look up to as a model that you can reach out to mentor you? Okay. Lastly, have a strong support system. Have a community of women, or not just women, but because you're a woman asking that question, but people who are growth minded. They're always looking to stretch their potential, looking into how do I strengthen my professional growth, right? And leadership. That's extremely important. So having a coach, having a mentor, having a strong support system, and continually investing in yourself. Those, I believe, are the secret tips to career diversification and transition. What would you add, Shauna?
Yeah, thank you. No, I think that's an awesome response, and I would go back to and echo a piece of what you said earlier. Well, the first part of your WIN framework, right, which is that it's like painfully inwardly focused, right, where it's like thinking and reflecting and taking note of how, when you're doing something, how it feels, what makes you happy, when do you feel like you're not working, all of it, but you are in fact working, right? That's when you know, like, you're in that sweet spot of those superpowers, right? So I would say that certainly getting that support is so key, and we have to do it really with a willingness to have that inward focused, and to know. I always find now people just want to be able, like, let me just go ask AI or Google what the answer is, right? And it's like it's not there. I'll force myself sometimes to work offline, like, and like tactically, like, have a notebook and write things down so I don't get in that trap of looking outward for answers when realistically it's my business and things I'm trying to do are mine and unique, and I have to stay inward. But it's so tempting to just be like, Google, how should I? AI, how should I? What should I do next? And that's often what we want to do. But I think the really good stuff comes from staying offline in a lot of ways, and like staying just kind of in here. So yeah, I think it can be so tempting though to just run to the internet to try to get the answers. So good luck in your journey. I think the other thing is to acknowledge that the whole idea of a transition, it could take a day, it could take a month, it could take a year, it could take 6 months, it could, like, we don't know how long it's going to take because we don't know what that journey is or what it feels like. Do you ever have this experience too, Esther, where it's like some people will take a long time to figure out what they want to do, but some people will have like a life defining moment, like that moment that just reveals the answer? Do you know what I mean?
I think it depends on your I think it depends on how you also process. Some people are more reflective on others,
Yeah.
right? But it also depends on who you surround yourself with. I always say that a
Mm,
flower would only bloom in an environment that nourishes and nurtures it, right? So when you talk about light bulb moments, I think if you place yourself in a growth minded environment and you're
mm,
around people that see your potential and can call that out of you, because sometimes you can't see the value in yourself yet. But
yeah.
when you're surrounded with people that see that, just like I said with the story I shared, like you could see something I couldn't see because I was trying to figure out this maze I got myself into. I moved halfway across the world. I can't even figure out who I was, but you were able to help me see perspective.
Yeah.
So, light bulb moments, I think we're in an environment that's really very natural and transformational. It helps you with that sustainable clarity that continues to help you to see yourself in different ways and you continue to have aha moments.
Definitely, definitely. I agree. This is why we need good, strong professional networks too, right? Like networks of, and networking can mean a bunch of different things, right? I think we typically only associate networking a lot of the times with when we need something and we're going through a transition. But networking can really serve us well, like all the time, and help us to become our best selves in our career. And I know that you have I know that you have some particular expertise in networking, Esther, and a resource around that. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I created this resource because again, I work a lot with international students. And one
Mm-hmm.
of the things I've heard is when they go out to networking sessions, not knowing how to show up, how to communicate your personal brand. And so I created this resource to help you with how do you network in a way that's effective and connect with your personality style. Now, it's just a starter guide. I always go into this in deeper level because, again, I look at this through the lens of self awareness and social awareness. So, networking is how you communicate based on your self awareness in a social awareness environment, if that makes sense. So, networking is social awareness, right? But again, there are different networking platforms. There's online, there's in person, but it's how you show up. How do you communicate your brand? Right? How do you communicate who you are, the value you bring to the table? And so this resource is really to help you with, either you're a mom, whatever role you wear, you're able to find how to network with success in a way that's effective and it continues to lay that strong foundation for career clarity and success.
Yeah, absolutely. And to do it in a way too, it sounds like, where it feels, like like not icky, right? Like we're doing, if we can articulate
Like a
our
robot.
brand in a clear way, we have some goal, like it's not about like, oh, Esther, I need a job, right? Like it gets a little
Yes.
bit more depth than that for sure. I wanted to mention to folks watching that I'm hosting like a small group session in January. I'll put the link to that in the comments. But the idea is a lot of what you talked about, Esther, around like sometimes we need someone else to show us, and sometimes we need that external perspective to inspire. So I hope to bring some of that to a small group of job seekers where we're going to talk about resumes and job search strategies, and you'll get an opportunity for like one-on-one custom feedback on your resume, etc. It's called Resume Real Talk, and again, small group, just 10 people, and it creates that support network too, right? Because job search can be so challenging. I've put in the comments here a link to the networking resource that Esther mentioned. So make sure that you go and grab that, okay? It's on the screen here. So networking secrets, check that out. And Esther, how can people stay in touch with you and follow up to today's live?
So you can find me on LinkedIn. And then my website is shinewithesther.com. You can get everything about what I do is on shinewithesther.com. And LinkedIn is also my happy place. I love LinkedIn. So if you want to find me, I love LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. I just feel it's my happy place. I feel like I show up the most authentic part of myself on LinkedIn. I'm not sure why, even as a professional network, but I just feel um, I love videos. I think I started doing videos and I just got, just love LinkedIn. So LinkedIn and my website, shinewithesther.com.
Awesome. I'm just taking it. I'm popping them in the comments right now so that people can follow you and keep in touch. Well, this is the second to the last episode of Q4 Career Success Live, and I want to thank you, Esther, for being here today and sharing your amazing background and experience with folks. The whole point of this survey, this live series, is really to help job seekers end 2023 on a career high note. And I've been featuring guests all from different backgrounds so that they can bring their perspectives to the community that we have here online. So thanks again, Esther, for being here today. Make sure that you grab her free download. Follow Esther on LinkedIn, and I will be back here next week, same time, different link. But we'll see you at 10 o'clock next Tuesday for the final episode. And all the best for ending the year on a career high note. Thanks again for being here today, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, everyone. Thank
Bye.
you, Shauna.